Welcome everybody to G4 Designs. My name's Eli. I'm a professional cabinet builder, and today I'm going to share 5 woodworking tips I wish I knew as a beginner. Say on your miter saw or your table saw, most likely your blades aren't dull. I wish I would have known this earlier. I spent a lot of money on saw blades just replacing them. Most likely they're just dirty. We cut a lot of plywood, a lot of high resinous woods like pine. What happens is those teeth either get full of glue from the plywood or pitch from all of the sap that's in the wood that we cut. And those teeth aren't dull, but they're just built up with gunk. Here's a good example of an old saw blade that I have that's not clean. So if we look close there at all the gunk that's built up on these teeth, that's what's causing our tear out. Those teeth are a little bit fatter than they should be, and the blade just needs a good cleaning. When we clean that blade up, our cuts are smooth again. What I use to clean my blades is a product called Simple Green. It's a degreaser, like a shop degreaser. You can buy it in a gallon concentrate, and then I dilute it down to about 50-50 water. I just spray it on, and then I move that solution around with an old toothbrush until the blade is clean. Kind of go on both sides of the blade, make sure that you're paying attention to each tooth and the cutting surface, and then just wipe it off, put it back on the saw, and you're good to go. There is a situation where I don't take the blades off to clean them, but what I do is just spray them with this dry lube from PB Blaster. It's what I use. You can use silicone spray, but sometimes that can mess with your stains. But what I do in a situation where I have a setup that I don't want to tear down, what happens a lot when I'm building drawers out of Baltic birch and cutting a lot of box joints, and those blades start to build up with glue, I just spray a little bit of this on every 6 or 8 cuts, and it cleans those cuts up real nice. I also use this on my blades when I take them off. I just shoot them down quick and then put them away in storage. That helps to keep that pitch from building up so quick, and it really helps to keep the blade sharp a lot longer. Here's an example of the tear out versus a dirty blade to a clean blade. Number 4, tool envy is a real thing, especially you watch everybody on YouTube. They got big fancy table saws, and that stuff does not matter. I can't stress enough, buy what you can afford. You don't need big, expensive, fancy tools to make nice stuff. What you need to do is learn your tools. There is a happy medium where, say you have an old miter saw, and that saw blade is wobbling around, well, you're going to have a hard time making any kind of fine woodworking or real high quality stuff. But you don't have to spend, I think this was $700 for the Makita 10-inch miter saw. You don't need to spend that much on a miter saw to build quality stuff. You don't need a $5,000 saw stop table saw. If you can get by with entry-level tools such as a job site table saw and a Harbor Freight miter saw, you definitely don't need that. You just need to learn it. You need to take quality measurements and take your time. But knowing your tools is going to be the biggest thing in creating quality stuff. And you can build up over time upgrading your tools, but there's no reason to start and blow a bunch of money on fancy tools. The fancy tools do not make the products. You're making the products. So knowing your tools, having some knowledge, that's what makes quality. Number 3, buy quality blades. Buy a quality blade that you can afford. You don't have to spend $150 a blade. You can get away with spending $40 or $50, but that $40 or $50 blade is going to last you 3, 4, 5 times longer than that $20 blade. So spending the money is going to get you a better product. Over the past couple years, I've really become fond of the Amana series blades. They are expensive, they're over $100 a blade, but what I noticed is the first time that I put one of those on my saw about how high quality the cuts were. The carbides are huge, so they're going to allow me to resharpen them several times. And I just shipped off the first time to get my blades resharpened. 3 Amana blades that I've been using for over a year that I'm finally now just needing to get those resharpened. So I have a rip blade, a combination blade, and then a high count cross-cutting blade for my sheet goods, plywood. But all of those blades on daily cutting, it took a year for me to want to get those resharpened. So I think it was about $350 for those 3 blades, but I got a year's worth of cutting out of those before they need to be resharpened. And I would assume that I'm going to be able to resharpen them 3 or 4, maybe 5 times, depending on if there's not a tooth failure or a bad chip or something that is going to happen like that. Freud makes great blades. CMT makes good blades. That's what I kind of have on right now, just to get me through this period where I'm waiting for my blades to get back. The higher end blades from CMT I really do like too. I really do like the Amana series blade. Nobody cares that I'm saying this. These companies don't know who I am. This is the first video I've ever made. I'm telling you these things because it's over 5 years of everyday cutting on the same table saw that this is my opinion of these blades. The Diablo blades, they're fine. The carbides are small, they're a cheap blade. I would go to the premium CMT blades. If you search a little bit, you can get those blades for $15, $20 more expensive than what the Diablo blades are, and you're gonna get a much higher quality blade. Now you have to kind of match your blade to your saws. If you have a contractor saw, you're going to want to go with a thin kerf blade just because those saws don't have the power to push a full kerf blade that well. Tip number 2 has to do with our glue ups. Say you get a little gap between the 2 pieces that you're joining. What I like to do is run just a tiny bit of glue down, wipe it off with my finger, and then quickly sand it with 220 grit sandpaper or somewhere between 120 and 220 grit sandpaper. I kind of like to use 180 right now. That seems to be a kind of happy medium and I don't have to go back and touch it up quite so often. But with that wet glue and the sawdust that the orbital sander is creating, it seals that little hole up and it puts enough sawdust in there that if we take our time with this sanding, even if we're going to stain it, that seam disappears or the little gap disappears that was created by joining the 2 pieces. My number 1 tip is stop buying lumber from the big box stores. Find a quality sawmill or a local lumber dealer that you can get your lumber from. I use a hardwood dealer that also specializes in sheet goods like plywood. They deliver to my shop. The prices are equal to, on their sheet goods, any big box store pricing. Plus they carry an unlimited amount of hardwood at a much, much, much lower cost per board foot than what our big box stores provide us. The one that I use will send out surface 4-sided material. You can order a rough cut lumber and do all of your milling on site or at your shop or at your home or wherever you're doing this stuff. But you're going to save some money, you're going to get much higher quality, and a lot of times they'll deliver. But the biggest thing is your cost savings over quality materials. When I order plywood from my dealer, I'm getting voidless premium sheets. Now you can't guarantee that you're pulling sheets off the shelf at Home Depot and Lowe's and Menards and these other box stores that carry sheet goods. You're not going to get voidless plywood. You're not going to get veneers that you can sand on a little bit. All of that stuff is much lower quality. They're just out for 100% profit. They don't care about guys trying to build stuff to a high standard like what your local hardwood dealer is going to or your local lumber dealer. Thanks for being here, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back with more tips. I'm going to do some how-tos, and we'll just see how this thing goes. Thanks again.